All right, guys, we are back for game number 3 between both of these players. Currently, we are tied 1-1 in this best-of-3 series. In Control, tying it up on that last game, Whirlwind. He is going to be representing Evil Geniuses in the bottom right here as our red Protoss player, and his opponent in the upper left representing himself, Mr. General. We have our blue Terran, and we'll see what's going to happen in this game, man. The winner of this advances here in the winner's round.
Yeah, this has the potential to be a really big upset with someone who has been around to several MLGs. He's not someone that no one's ever heard of before, but he's not exactly a household name. And he could take out In Control in this best of 3. I mean, over the last 2 games, his play has been solid, and he lost that last game because he wanted to hit a timing and he hit the timing, but In Control had his number. And you know, if he does another time that In Control is maybe a little bit less familiar with, then I mean, In Control could lose. And even in the macro game, General really showed that he's kind of got the chops. I'm looking forward to this for sure.
Absolutely. In Control, as you said, has to be the favorite going into this. This is just the beginning of the spring championships in Anaheim, and if he loses, it's not going to be so pretty because he's going to have a long way to crawl back in the loser's bracket. But on the other side, General, he played, you know, I thought game number 1 was a really good display of his skill. If you noticed, he was very good at multitasking. He dropped in the natural, dropped in the main, was able to really zone out the army positioning of In Control. And in this game, in game number 2, it felt like he had that build planned all along. He realized, okay, I'm just going to do this build. I'm going to pull the SCVs. I'm not going to take a third base. And if it wins me the game, that's fine. But as you said, this is a best of 3. He can have that one game to give up, but In Control is not going to be an easy opponent to beat. We're going to see right now normal openings from both sides as we saw in the previous games. We're seeing Gateway for In Control, Cybernetics Core to follow, Reaper opening here from General, so that's a little bit of a switch up, but not the biggest deal. So now we have to see who expands and what kind of early pressure we're going to see from either side.
Yeah, and let's see. Did In Control In Control kind of walked in with his probe, and he sees what's going on in General's base, but he doesn't see the gas. He might assume that there is gas, but the fact that he doesn't see it is interesting. But yeah, so he probably assumes that there's gas, and he grabs a Stalker relatively quickly and Chrono boosts that out. So that Stalker will show up about the same time that Reaper would get to his base, if the Reaper was going that way. But really, this Reaper is cleaning up this probe, and I like that. That's a good choice for that Reaper.
Some nice early denial being done here by General. Ooh, a little bit of lag.
A little bit of lag.
Hopefully we'll get that figured out.
Yeah, that's not looking too good.
Yeah. Well, that kind of sucks,
If he
man.
drops...
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I mean, if he drops... it's before 5 minutes into the game and nothing really has happened. I'm not sure if they regame or if they just resume from replay.
I think they would, they should regame, I would think. Guys, we are sorry about that. We are trying to actually just see what's going on with a little bit of lag here from In Control. Now, if he drops, I'm pretty sure what we're going to do is we're going to resume from replay. We might go ahead and just do a regame since it's down before 5 minutes, as my co-caster mentioned. But a little bit unfortunate. Hopefully we'll get everything figured out, and we'll see what we can do. So stay tuned. And
yeah,
I think it's
looking like a drop.
I'll show you what we're looking at, guys. This is what we're looking at. In Control. Timed out. I'm not pushing that drop button, Josiah. I'm not doing it.
Me neither. I don't think anybody is.
I think you should do it. Go do it. Just kidding, don't do it. Yeah. I think it's a drop. Maybe his computer disconnected or something.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, Center is obviously at the same place that In Control is, and he's not having any trouble, so it looks to be computer specific.
Yeah. Okay, guys. This is what we're going to do. I'm pretty sure he's going to drop, so we're just going to take another small little break, and hopefully by that time happens, or by the time the commercials are over, we're going to go ahead and just jump into, you know, the regame of this, whether it's a replay or whether it's a new game. So sorry about the little bit of a problem here from their side in Anaheim, but we should be getting into the next game very soon. Stay tuned. right, some good news. We're getting the invite to the game, so I think it is going to be a regame, and we're just going to go. Good luck, have fun as we jump into game number 3, the final game between both of these players. Incontrol tying up that last game. General, of course, taking the win for the first match, and we'll see what's going to happen here in game number 3. All right, guys, here we are. Game number 3 between Evil Geniuses Incontrol, representing EG, of course, a North American-based organization, going to be in the bottom right as our Red Protoss and Josiah. Why don't you go ahead and introduce his opponent?
And on the top left-hand side, we have the Blue Terran player Center, who has been playing just really solid games today. I'm really excited. I'm glad I got to cast his game because I actually haven't heard of him. But like I said earlier, he's not a no-name. He's been playing in MLGs for several years now. But he's not a household name. He's just not quite as common as some of the bigger name pros. But his play has just really been solid, very, very methodical and thought out. And I'm looking forward to see how far he goes in this tournament. With this series against Incontrol, who is a grandmaster North American player, he has the potential to go pretty far.
Indeed, he does. And as we mentioned before, if Incontrol loses this, he is unfortunately falling down to the losers bracket. But in return for General, if he wins this, I mean, if he's not on a pro team right now, or if he's not a big name, I would think that's a big accomplishment in his book. Going to Anaheim, beating a player like Incontrol really should boost your confidence in continuing to play well throughout the tournament. But builds so far, as we've seen throughout many of our TVPs today, very, very normal openings. Very rarely do you see a command center first in this matchup unless it's a huge map, maybe a map like Whirlwind. But we're just seeing a barracks from General, followed by the gas. Probably going to be that normal Reaper opening he did in last game. Incontrol doing the same thing, getting the gateway, getting the gas, and should be getting a cybernetics core. And we're just going to have to see, if there's going to be any cheekiness in the early game. If not, we should see a normal opening from Incontrol, possibly just Colossi into Storm, and then General going to play that bio play. Bio, just Marines, Marauders, Medivacs, and Hellbats maybe, or just maybe even some Hellbat drops. I'd love to see that in this series.
Yeah, that's actually something that we've actually been lacking in our TVPs. Is we have not seen any Hellbat drops. I feel like that's kind of a gross negligence on the part of the Terran players.
Yeah, man, you're supposed to be abusing that unit until it gets nerfed.
Exactly. But nothing too much going on right now. General's finishing up his command center, his orbital command, and he's getting that Reaper. He's pulled guys off of gas, a very standard TVP opener we've been seeing quite a bit today. And Incontrol is finishing up his cybernetics core and is going to be looking to put down a pile and then take his natural quickly.
So what we can expect in this game, if you guys remember, we just finished casting a series between Xenocider and I think his name was Zerg Assassin. This was the same exact map they played on, and something we noted was just the third base. If you look at how it's designed, a destructible rock and a little bit of a choke area. So stimming units here, in return, I guess, on the other side for Incontrol, would not be the best choice for General. So he really has to adapt to the map. Maybe quick medevac drops, maybe just a standard 2-base play into a third command center, but I can guarantee there's going to be some sort of a timing, whether it's coming from Incontrol or it's coming from General, to really try to get a small advantage in this game, as we're seeing the Reaper now just do a little bit of scouting information, scouting the probe. We'll be able to clean it up. Behind it, command center coming up from General, Nexus coming up from Control. Everything looking very, very clean on both sides.
Yeah, and here comes that early engineering bay once again from General. This is the same build that he did in Game 1, where over in Control when Incontrol did that weird blink opener. And he's going to be getting that +1/+1 weapons, and it'll lead up nicely into a +1/1 timing attack. Not really intended to kill anybody, but to pressure a little bit and get some map control and some drops off on his Protoss opponent. And then Control is not doing what he did in Game 1. He is not going for an incredibly early Twilight tech, but he's grabbing the Robo Facility as his tech of choice.
And I like this a lot by Incontrol. Now, if General was going for a strong 2-base timing, maybe like a 5 barracks with 2 reactors and a tech lab, or two reactors, or 2 tech labs and 1 reactor if he wants to be Marauder heavy, Incontrol would be in some trouble. But he's adding on those second and third gateways pretty quickly. So he's opting to go quicker tech instead of being 100% certain of defending a possible 10-minute push here from the Terran player, which is questionable, but definitely just a standard little variation here to the 3 gateway robotics opening. As you mentioned, Warp Gate is going to finish, Nexus is completed for Incontrol, and now we're going to start to see the tech choice here from General. He's not adding on additional barracks, he's going straight into Factory, which has me thinking we're going to have much quicker drop play compared to the previous game.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. I feel like he's not been a drop heavy Terran. He's not a Terran that you might meet on the ladder and hate their guts because they drop the crap out of you. He's just been playing very solid engagement oriented matches. And with this early Factory, it could very easily be very early drops for a 10-minute drop time with one at the natural and one at the main. And I would really like to see that, I think.
Yeah, that's kind of what he did in game number 1 on Neoplanet S. He was really able to abuse the Medivacs and their speed ability, dropping in the main and dropping in the natural. But, at that point, the game was kind of over because he just marched his way towards the natural in control. Didn't really have the Colossi out just in time to be able to defend it. But I'm assuming he's going to be playing a little bit quicker drop play. I mean, his starport's up a lot sooner compared to the last game. Medivac should be coming out on the map around the 9:30 minute mark here for General. And Colossi, again, going to be the tech choice here from Incontrol. So Incontrol doesn't just doing what he does best. He's always been known to play Colossi into Storm rather than Storm into Colossi. So now we're going to see, is it going to be a third? Is it going to be a 2-base timing with maybe like 6 gateways and try to go for like a quick 2-1 win over General? Or is he going to play a little bit more, macro-ish, take a 3rd base and then transition into Storm? And actually, Warp Prism, this is actually really, really cool from Incontrol. I'm curious to see what he's going to do with it.
Yeah, that is an excellent and very cool addition to this build, because it's still going to be a standard Colossus play, but he's getting the robotics facility in such a way that he's not going to take away, like it's late enough that it's not going to take away Colossus robotics facility time while he gets that Warp Prism. I really like that. And so General, while being an aggressor in most of these the major aggressor in most of these games, he hasn't had his defensive play tested. So I think this is quite an interesting choice. And there's 1 Forge coming up there's 2 Forge coming up for Incontrol. So he is going to play probably relatively standard. And I think Incontrol really has to, because this is the match point. He can't afford to take a silly loss due to, oh well, he did this build and I was doing this other build and it didn't work out well for me, but next time he can't afford for that to happen. So he's just going to play standard and as safe as possible.
And this is the same build he did last game. Robotics facility, Colossus, double Forge, and maybe he's even going to transition into Charge here pretty soon. But again, this is the timing that General has stuck in his head. 2 Medivacs, good amount of bio around the 10-minute mark, even a little bit sooner this time. But it looks like Warp in the main base. With this Warp Prism by Incontrol, we're going to see 2 Zealots drop straight on top of this bio. Not going to do too much damage. How much was actually done? Actually, 3 workers lost. Now we're seeing another scan here by General, just testing the ramp of Incontrol to see what he actually has. And he has enough units to really be able to defend that. 1 Colossi, 3 Stalkers, and a handful of Zealots should be plenty to be able to deal with a small bioforce from General.
Yeah, and more production being added on by General. No armory and no second engineering base, so he's delaying his upgrades a little bit again. But this Warp Prism is still alive by Incontrol. He's working in a couple more Zealots, and he's gonna follow up that drop pressure some more. And behind this, I would really like to see Incontrol take a 3rd, and he's adding on a Twilight Council so he can continue his upgrades. So that's what it looks like. Incontrol is just gonna play a macro style and not a timing is what that build looks like.
Definitely the safer choice from Incontrol. As you mentioned, the Twilight Council being started. We're starting to see him posture here towards the 3rd base. I love that pylon by the 3rd base, by the way, to just know when his opponent's taking it, if he's taking it, but he's not at this point. And 2 base with 2 starports, he's really going to start committing here to Vikings, assuming that Incontrol is going to stick onto into Colossus Tech for a little bit of time. But a little bit of a poke at once again by General, realizing that the Colossi number is now growing up to 2. And Incontrol making even a 3rd. So, he's telling himself, okay, I'm going to commit a little bit more to Colossi and delay my Storm and force out these Vikings. And hopefully, if he tries to go for a push, I'm going to have Storm by that specific timing he goes for. Incontrol extending a little bit here, almost to his opponent's side of the map. Still no 3rd in sight yet from Incontrol. And here comes that push out from General. 138 supply, to 125. 1-1 already completed for the Terran. 1-1 completed from Incontrol, and we'll see how much this push can do.
Yeah, and Storm coming up for Incontrol, and this is kind of the same time to push as the second game, but this time there's no masked SCV pull. So I think the General will check and see what that third looks like, and then make a decision from there. But actually, no, he's completely skipping the third, and he's just posturing right now. He's just kind of moving back and forth. But that observer from Incontrol sees everything. So Incontrol is not worried. He's not in the dark at all.
Yeah, he knows.
He knows that his opponent's going back.
He absolutely knows about this, and he knows that he has enough time to get Storm. In fact, Storm is about to complete here anytime, 90% completed, and he's adding on more gateways. But the thing here is he has not taken a third base just yet, and General knows this. But on the other hand, General is just now getting started on the third base. So Incontrol, you know, I feel like he has a few options here, because the good thing for him is Storm is done, and there's no sign of Ghost Academy or just any sort of Ghost Tech on the map. But, you know, if he wants to play this safe, it would definitely be the smarter choice to take the third base, get an advantage that way, build up a crazy army of just Colossi, Archons, and Storm, and just control your Templar so he won't get EMP'd, and he should be able to win the game, because General still no Ghost Academy, and he should know, you know, around this time, Protosses are generally transitioning into Storm. So, oh my God, the SCVs, man, I think this is like a replay of the last game.
He decided he wants to go for it, but by now Storm is done, and it has been done for ages. But there's a drop in the main with Zealots, and I like that, although that's going to be less important in this PvP coming up. So many Photon Cannons and a good number of High Templar with Storm available. I feel like this could spell disaster for General.
Here comes the attack. Great Storms by Incontrol, really trying to finish this up. Cannon's getting focused down. The Vikings are focusing down the Colossi. I would actually say this is not a bad position from General, but he's going to lose so much. 115 supply to 136. Incontrol's cannons are going to finish just in the nick of time. Can he actually defend it? GG called out by the Terran. Incontrol takes a 2-1 win in this best of 3. Very, very, very well played indeed.
Yeah. That was a great hold, and General looks a little bit too indecisive. He actually planted that third command center and then said, no, not going to do that. Cancel it, and then grab all of his SCVs. But the observer from Incontrol was on his army the whole time. Incontrol knew exactly what was up, totally had his number. And that was a great play. I'm really impressed with General's play, but Incontrol definitely came out on top, and that's got to be as expected.
I agree, man. As the lights in my room, I have terrible lighting in this room. Turning it on, completely forgot about it. But yeah, it's like General. You know, he probably okay. This is actually what happened. Okay, listen to this. So Incontrol was sitting right in front of General. General realized how big Incontrol was, and he got absolutely intimidated, and realized, okay, I'm probably just going to try to finish this game with another push, because he's probably going to beat me up after this game. And unfortunately, you know, for General, he is going to fall down in the third match. But Incontrol, congratulations to him continuing to advance here through the tournament. I was a little bit worried that it was going to fall down to the loser's bracket, but other than that, very, very well played. And guys, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to swap casters. We're going to have Josiah and Nightshade bringing you some more StarCraft 2 MLG Spring Championship action. Stay tuned, and we'll be back after a quick commercial break.